Hey guys, what's up? Brendan from Whisper Node here, and we're back with part 3 of the Namada Shielded Expedition node setup series. In parts 1 and 2, we went through how to rent a server from Contabo, and then how to make that server a little bit more secure by disabling the root user login and the password login, and showed you how to log in using SSH keys from your local machine. So in part 3, we've got all that set up and we're ready to get started creating the Namada node. So I'm going to show you a pretty easy way to go through this. I've modified the script used by Nodes Guru, so shout out to them first of all. I'm not taking credit for this script, just modified it a little bit. And we're going to use that script to install the necessary dependencies like Comet BFT and Rust and the binaries for Namada. And then I couldn't get the some of the commands to work within the script. It was saying something about the directory already existing even though it didn't exist. So we're going to then do the commands using the binaries manually after running the script. And then we'll walk through how to set things up if you were a pre-Genesis validator and how to set things up if you were a post-Genesis validator. So first thing we're going to do is nano namada install.sh. We're going to create a script, and then I will provide the link in the description of this video to where this script is. Again, modified the script from Nodes Guru, so shout out to them again. Gonna just copy and paste that in here, Control X, Y, enter, and then I'm going to give that script execution permissions, namada install.sh, and then I'm just gonna run that. I'm just gonna sudo bash that script there, and then what that's going to go through and check if you have these dependencies installed already, and if not, it's going to install them. I've already run this script on this machine for testing purposes, so when you go and run the script, it may take a little bit longer to install the protobufs, Rust, and Comet BFT. It's going to ask you for your password as well. And then it's going to prompt you to enter some basic things like the username that you set up in part 2 of this series. It's going to ask you for your operating system. I'm on a Linux machine, so I type Linux with a capital L. And then it's going to ask you for the version of the binaries, which for the purposes of Shielded Expedition is v0.31.0. And then it's going to ask you for that Namada chain ID, which I'm going to copy and paste over here, Shielded Expedition, blah, 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 and hit enter. And then it's going to go through and do its thing. So you can see it's installing Rust. Rust was already installed. Installing libprotox, installing Go, and then installing the Namada binaries, and then it's also moving those binaries to your cargo bin, which is where I've set things up. I think Nodes Guru may have done it in user bin or something along those lines. So now we have the binaries installed and we're ready to start running commands to set up our node. We can check that Namada was installed. We can type which Namada, and it's going to show us where it was installed. We can also check the version to make sure it installed the right version. You can see that it installed version v0310. So script just saves some time. Don't have to manually go through a lot of that setup. And yeah, once we've run that script, then we can go ahead and join the network. If you were a pre-Genesis validator, let me just bring over this other screen here. So I also have these guides available at guides.whispernode.com. But if you were a pre-Genesis validator and you submitted your pre-Genesis validator transaction and you were included in the Genesis file or the balances.toml file, you're going to want to use this command when you join. Namada client utils join network chain ID and then Genesis validator, and then you want this alias right here to match exactly what you have on your machine in that pre-Genesis folder. Actually, I can go on my other machine and show you guys what I'm talking about. So this machine I set up and did the whole process as the pre-Genesis validator. So if I go into my .local/share Namada, and then you're going to have this pre-Genesis folder that you were using for that. You can see here I have this Whisper node folder. So to make sure you have that command right, if you're a pre-Genesis validator, I would just copy that name right from that folder. And I'm going to go back to this other machine that I'm setting up for the tutorial. And I'm going to want to do export alias export alias, and then paste that exact alias in there. So now that's stored as that variable. You'll also want to export the chain ID. So export chain ID and then put that shielded expedition in there, and then you can run that command. Namada client utils join network chain ID Genesis validator is the key flag there if you were in that balances.toml. A lot of people have been missing that, and yeah, you're going to run that command if you're a pre-Genesis validator. For this tutorial, I've already done that setup on my other machine, so I'm going to run the other command, which does not have that flag. So it's just Namada client utils join network chain ID. So I run that. It's going to do its thing, and it successfully configured that chain ID. So what that's done is created, if I change directory to .local/share and then do ls.la, you can see it created this Namada folder here now. All right, and that is where your new chain folder is, and there's all these configuration files there, right? Now we have the chain configured, and we want to run this as a service here. So next we're just going to type which Namada, which is going to show us where that Namada is installed, and just note that. And next we're going to create that service file. So we're going to sudo nano /etc/systemd/system/namada-d.service. All right, and then we're going to paste in our service file here. I will again provide links to this. So this user here, you're going to want to replace that with your username. And originally I was trying to create the service file with, that script and everything, but the command was giving me issues. So if anyone has any ideas as to why that utils join network command wasn't creating the folder, let me know, because I thought I had the script in a really good spot to make it real easy for all this stuff. But anyway, all you're gonna have to do is just replace where it has that user variable with your username. So you can see I've replaced it with Whispernode in all those places. All the rest of the stuff should be fine there. So then save that. And now after you've saved that service file, you're just going to want to sudo systemctl daemon reload, and then you're going to want to enable the file for sudo systemctl enable namadad. And then if all goes well, you should be able to start Namadad using sudo systemctl start, and then check what's going on using sudo journalctl -u namadad -f-0 cat. And you can see that when I've done that, my node is sitting here and it's waiting for the Genesis time. So that's great. That means once that Genesis time hits, my node is going to start up. So it appears to be configured correctly. Now, what a lot of you need to do at this point, so once the network is live, you're going to need to create that validator pretty quickly, and you're going to need to do that with the keys that you used on the crew member or pilot form if you're a post-Genesis validator. So let's really quickly go through how to get those keys on there. And I think the command might have changed, so let's try this. Let's just do key alias equals we'll call it Whispernode. Oops. All lower cases there. All right. Key alias Whispernode, and then we're gonna try this. I think this is the right thing. It's Namada w derive dash alias, and then that key alias we just set. And yes, okay. That looks like now enter your encryption password. That can be any password you want. All right, so enter the password, and then you're gonna import your mnemonic from the wallet that you used to fill out the Namada form. So if I have the Namada extension here, I just go to this keys management. There's my BK Namada wallet, and go to this view seed phrase. I'm gonna do that off the screen so I don't share my seed phrase, even though I'm probably not gonna use that wallet for anything. All right, so I've copied that mnemonic off the screen, and then I'm gonna paste it in here. Oh, so you're seeing my mnemonic anyway, so clearly I'm not gonna use this wallet again for anything. Or I can try to black it out in the post. So I've now added a key with that alias in there. So if I go to .local/share/Namada, I can never, I don't know why these long long testnet chain ID names make everything difficult. But if I go to that wallet.toml now, and I take a look at that by nanoing, you can see that my key is added in that wallet now. So that's what you want. So now your key is in that wallet.toml file, and now when the network goes live, you should have a balance at that wallet address at the Genesis. So I think you can even check that by looking at that balances.toml file. If you nano balances.toml. So if you look up your address in here, it should show your balance as well. So yeah, once the network's live, your node's gonna spin up because you've already, it's already waiting for Genesis, and then all you need to do is pretty much run the init validator command using your key. So it's in the guide. I'll just pop that onto the screen here, and it should just be this Namada client init validator, and then yeah, you should input all these variables. I'll make sure, if you haven't done your email, for example, I don't think I did that in this tutorial, but you can just do just assign that email variable. Email equals my email at gmail.com, right? So yeah, just set that, sorry, you might want to export it, but just set those variables and then run these commands in here. And then you should be a validator within a few epochs. And then you can use the bond command to later bond more tokens, etc. Maybe what I'll do is after Genesis, we'll pop back on this node and make sure that those commands work, but this should get you guys most of the way there. So last thing I'll go over in this tutorial is talking a little bit about configs. So in the testnet folder, the shielded expedition folder in .local/share, there's this config toml. That config toml is going to feed the variables into the Comet BFT config file when your node is running. So anything you want to change, you're going to want to change in this config file. So you can just nano in there, and you can see there's all kinds of stuff that you can change. Like you can change the default ports, which is something we typically do. I think Namada right now, most people are using port 200. So you can kind of mess around with these configs, but you don't have to. The node will run without doing this kind of stuff. I'm just kind of showing this as extra credit, we'll call it. So yeah, you can change some of your default ports. If later on we want to run using a remote signer, we can mess with some of this stuff, which maybe I'll do a tutorial on that as well. I would put in your external address, which is just TCP, your IP address, and then your port. That'll help with peering. It'll make the node more reliable. Something we also do, give away a little bit of our secrets, but we usually change these inbound outbound peer numbers a little bit. Just increase those, usually helps out with performance. And yeah, that is pretty much it for this tutorial. So yeah, you're up and running nodes. Congratulations. Happy to answer questions and walk through. Hopefully I didn't do anything wrong. Again, I'm kind of running through this, pretending to be a crew member and not doing it the way that we would normally do it at Whispernode, but hopefully that was helpful, guys. And take it easy and good luck in the shielded expedition.